Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I'm getting started on another episode of What's Broke Today. And today we have a broken axle on a Grasshopper 721 that sheared it off right at the wheel hub. So we're going to take it apart so we can put a new axle in it. Okay, now before I actually take the final drive on this apart, I'm gonna take this hydraulic line off going to the transmission from the oil tank and pull it back and get it up out of the way. That way I'm trying to minimize the amount of fluid I lose while I got this end out here apart. It'll leak fluid, so I'm gonna get that line off there and go ahead and let what's inside the hydrostatic transmission drain out before we pull this end off. And ain't really got a good spot for the camera, so but I'll just show you it's the hose that goes into the bottom. Now after I get the that line loose and out of the way, and I just left my drain pan underneath there draining, I got to take these two 3/8 inch bolts out. Oh shit, that spring's in the way. Alright, well, I guess I'll get ready, and I was going to try and get that out without taking the spring loose, but I may not have a choice. I thought it'd come out of there with the springs. I thought I could push the spring back far enough. Oh, well, that one, it worked. I don't remember taking that spring loose in the past, but let's just do this. There we go. And of course, after I pull the bolt out, I'm going to put the nut and the lock washer back on it so that I keep everything together. And then this little block here usually just slides out easy like that. And then I may have to go get the air compressor because see all this dirt and stuff that's up around the top of this. We got to clean all this out because we don't want none of this getting inside that transmission or final drive assembly while we got it tore apart. And I'm gonna go see if I can got air hose enough to reach out here so I can run the blow gun, and we'll blow some of this crud out of the way. Okay, and then after I blow everything out with the air compressor, need a 3/8 inch socket. I just slide my pan over here so I can catch that fitting draining and underneath this final drive, and then loosen up all the bolts. I've got all the others, all of them are loose, and there's 8 of them in there. I'll just take my hammer and knock it loose, and then take out the rest of my bolts. Objective is to try and pull this out of there and leave the which there's the brake puck fell down. So put it back in there. I want all that with the ball bearings to stay in, and then this part with there's Planetary gears in here. That's all I want to come out, and I'd even be okay if the Planetary gears stayed in there. But now this little brake part, figure out where I can set the, well, if I stand it up it won't fall over. Well, it will. If I can prop that up somewhere. So we got our brake friction disc, and then the other half of the pressure plate. I'm just going to take this brake piece and stick it up there. And then I'll go ahead and, I doubt that'll stay up there, but I'll hang it on there for now. And let me go clean up a little and drain the oil out of this gear case. Okay, and then inside of here, our brake one half met up against this piece. We got all our Planetary gears, and I don't really want all this to fall apart, so I'm gonna put my fingers over the, because I mean these will slide right off, these the small gears. I just want to take this and turn it up like that and set it down on my rag, and then very carefully jiggle and lift this up off there, and then we can slide our other two sets of gears out. And I want to keep everything in the order that it was in there. I don't want to swap up any rotation. I want to set everything down just like it was. And the other thing we want to look for is, sometimes but not always, there is a thrust washer here, but usually not. And then yeah, so that's our, and this is actually called a final drive, and this is an Eaton 771 Transaxle, and it's a 1993 or 94. I don't think the year matters because I think they're both the same. And next thing we're going to do is go to the press and take the axle out of here, and I'm going to pull the stub out of the hub, press it out, and then I got another axle. I'm going to see, I think it's shorter so it may not work, but I was going to compare the length. Alright, before we go to the press, I'll take my snap ring pliers, and there's a big snap ring on the axle end where the wheel goes I got to take out, and then we've got to go for, on the other end, for an outside snap ring that's down inside of here. And make sure your pliers are clean, even though I'm going to clean everything up before I go back together, but down in there, and spread that apart and try and pull it out like so. Get that out of the way, and we're going to look and make sure that there's probably a thrust washer down in there that's stuck up there and held with oil. Alright, if I get my snap rings out, I'm going to come over to the press, and I just use an old socket. I'll put on the end of that axle, and push it just a little, because my plates, as that comes down, hits my separator plates. And then I'll move them back just a little, just so I got clearance for that bearing to slide down past. Put my socket back in there, and then I'm just going to hold my hand underneath, because if everything goes right, it falls out just like that. Alright, then after I get that pushed apart, since this is recessed up in the hole, I'm just going to set it there on my separator plates. Now this is a 20-ton press, so I'm just going to get down on the threads and push that apart. Make sure I got that tight because it felt like it was leaking. And then when it does come apart, it makes a hell of a noise. But when it comes apart, it's so forceful because this is shaft is tapered and keyed. There we go. Tapered and keyed. So there's that. So got the hub separated. Now I got that all pressed apart. On the inward part here, we've got the little thrust washer I was talking about that goes in between the snap ring and the axle, and then this is a bushing in here which is showing quite a bit of wear, but there's also metal fragments that, I'll say this, we're getting internal wear in this transmission regardless. And then of course there's another one of those spacers on the outside, and then this is the oil seal, and then that went together kind of like that. And so I got some cleaning to do. I need a gasket and I want to put a new seal on it. Then I'll talk to him, because let him know about the wear this has, because that does concern me a little. Take the thrust washer that was originally on this other one, and yeah, because I think that's going to work. Because yeah, there isn't a lot of difference, but I bet you this end there's about a 1/16 of an inch of difference. Which I don't have to worry. Once I get this in there, it isn't going to slide in and out, but I wonder if it's going to affect the Planetary gears, if they shift in and out a little. So I got to do some research. Okay, well, I already put the Grasshopper together. I got my seal and I got a gasket, and I was trying to figure out what to do about the shaft I got and the old shaft, the difference in length when you put them together. So I did some test fitting, off camera of course, and determined that when the shaft sticks up through here, this one does stick up about a 1/16 of an inch higher. And the carrier for the Planetary gears here actually runs inside this boss inside. So let me put the shaft in, and I'm just gonna put a little more grease on it, because I had it greased up while I was doing my test fitting. Now I took it apart, put it back together. So I'm gonna put the shaft in, and then I picked out my best other parts. So there's the spacer washer. Let me get now I get my clip. And put that on my leg, and then squeeze that, slide it down. And I'll take my screwdriver and push it. Make sure I get it all the way down and locked in its groove. And then, I don't know how well this will show up, but what I did was, when I put this down in there and checked, I needed something to space this sun gear up a little. So I took a hardened washer, and this is actually a wheel washer for a Craftsman, and it fits perfectly down inside of that carrier. And I can put my planets back on and set that in there. And then I'm going to take these gears and put them back in just like they were. Slide them down in there. And drop that down in, and everything's locked together. And then I can take this one, drop it down in there like so, and then drop this down in. And once with that all put together, and with that spacer washer in, it holds that gear up high enough so that it is going to not cause any issues, and it gets our height about what it was originally. And now I'm going to go ahead and take all this back out, because even after showing you all that, I still have to put this seal in. And luckily the seal, I've cleaned the shaft, I greased the seal, then the seal will center up sliding down on the shaft. I got my goofy piece of pipe that I made this for something else and cut a slot in it. I push that seal down and then just and it'll only go so far down in there because it bottoms out in the housing. But the main thing is to make sure you get all the way down and it's grooved down in there. And then okay. Now in the last clip, you saw me telling you I was going to have to go press this, well, a bearing just like this in. And I got it set up, went over to my press, and as you can see, I mean, that thing doesn't really want to slide down over that. And I had taken and looked at the number on the old bearing. And after breaking two of these, I did some measuring and figured out that the shaft and this hole, there's no way this was going to go on there. So I ordered a bearing from Grasshopper, and what I had here, 6205-2RS, was my bearing. The bearing I ordered, 6205-2RS-1R. And you figure, well, they should be the same. They are not, because watch this. I'm basically going to put that down in there without using the press, because that bearing that I ordered will actually slide on the shaft without pressing. So and I don't know that I ever replaced one of these bearings, because anytime I had one of these apart in the past, it had Planetary gear problem and it had busted this housing, so I just got a whole assembly. So this is the first time I replaced, say, an axle, and had to I was changing the bearing. If I had the right size something for that bearing, I would use something other than this punch. But I didn't have a piece of pipe here that was the right size. So we can drive that down in there, and then I can take my snap ring put it down in its groove, make sure it's in all the way. I can take my Woodruff key and put it back down in, and then I'll put the hub and the nut and everything back on it after I get this remounted on the Grasshopper. In the process of getting ready to go back out there, I'm going to separate all my Planetary gear stuff and keep everything in its order. Let's see. And the one where I put my axle washer is there, and then I'll drop that down in there and lock it, and then everything's clean, and we can take that and slide it in there and drop that down. I'm going to take this one and drop it in. And then take this ring and drop it down in there. Okay, and all that looks, the idea how much gear reduction, I just barely turn that, look how fast that spins. And then I'm going to take my grease and we're going to go out to the mower. Okay, I got my new gasket, which I don't know that it really goes on a specific way. What my grease was for is the other half of the brake disc, because all those parts stay up in there, and I did clean off where the gasket goes. But I'm going to grease this disc just a little bit so it'll stay up in the axle housing, because otherwise it might fall out. That on there and wipe off my finger. I can put that up there, and that should stay. And then, okay, now I'm going to take and put thread lock on part of these screws. It's hot out here, so I'm not going to do them all at once. Okay, let's try this again. Put the gasket on here. And actually they did engineer this gasket to go on only one way. I just noticed there's a little notch right there and a spot on the gasket. So, okay. I can hold that up there. Knocking all that stuff up out of there. See if I can get down here a little lower so I can hold that up at a different angle. There we go. Move the camera because I might be blocking the view. I'll just run that up a little bit. Okay. I'll thread lock the other 3 bolts. Okay. Two, two, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 7, 1, 2. This will be 8. 8. We're back at the beginning. All right. We got to put our block back in and yeah, I think we'll do a little, oh, don't fall down through there. Put a little thread lock on that just for the heck of it. Because I'm putting the bolts up through where before they was down through. Okay, we'll put the cap back on. There's that. All right. Now I'm gonna go get the wheel hub and my 7/8 inch wrench so we can hook the oil line back up. Alright, I got everything bolted up. I put the line back on and I just couldn't get the camera to set underneath there real well, so I just didn't even record me putting a line on. Now that started, I'm gonna set the brake. That's pretty close. See if that'll go down through there. Oh yeah. All right, well, I got it up in the air. Got the one jack moved. Then we can just put the wheel on. Lug nut's been sitting in the sun, they're hot. Now I know that you need to watch me bolt a wheel on, so I'll come back shortly. Well, got done driving the Grasshopper. Other than we need to top off the hydraulic fluid for the hydrostatic transmissions, everything it ran and cut good. That he's got the extra oil, so I'll put that in when he comes to pick it up. But we're all good to go. So hey, appreciate all those thumbs up for the likes. Thanks for all those comments, and big shout out to everybody that has subscribed. That I appreciate all of you, and anybody that hasn't subscribed better join on in, because no telling what else you're going to see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.